Soldiers, assemble!
Houston, we have a problem.
I'm going to have to science the shit out of this.
This one time at Bandcamp.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
May the odds ever be in your favor.
I am going to kill Bill.
I'm just getting started, Doc.
Silencio Bruno! Welcome back, my darlings, to Not My Genre, the Fireteller film review. It's episode 47, and today we're reviewing Top Gun. I'm Nate.
And I'm Will, and we are Fireteller Film and Story. We're a video production house, but we are storytellers and we are story educators.
Story educators.
First and foremost. We love to get into the nitty-gritty behind a story. Why do you repeat everything I say?
I'm just
Is there an echo in
adding
here?
a bit of a dramatic echo. Come on, leave me alone today.
It's actually flattering.
You're
Thank
always
you.
so mean
Thank
to
you.
me.
Well,
Jesus
so,
Christ.
yeah, we're all about story. We want to actually
Absolutely.
We want to analyze the story of Top Gun today.
Yeah, look, we are story educators. Our mission is to connect, teach, and change the world by sharing stories. We have an e-course coming out. We got a book
it's
coming
actually
out.
through sharing stories.
Oh, there
but
you
but by
go.
sharing stories, we'll do that as well. You know, you got them. You got most of it.
Is there
Well
anything
done.
else you'd like to say? Go and change your face, Jesus Christ. Would you like to tell us about the synopsis today?
I think I would. The synopsis. Set 30 years after its predecessor, Top Gun Maverick follows Maverick's return to the United States Navy Strike Fighter Tactics Instructor Program, also known as Top Gun, where he must confront his past as he trains a group of younger pilots. Among them, the son of Maverick's deceased best friend, Lieutenant Nick Goose Bradshaw.
That was very, very dramatic. Did you like the music that I added today?
Loved it. Amazing. Amazing. I also didn't read that.
You did not read that. And it was not from IMDb
That's
at
right.
all in any
Definitely
way.
not.
Hey, look, we always like to uphold the storytellers and the story writers in this. Who are they, Will?
Yeah, in the original Top Gun, did you know that it was a film that came out in 1986? The first Top Gun. Have you heard of this film?
You're so mean to me.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of Top Gun. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, get in the corner.
It was based on characters in that film by Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr. Story for this one, so the story of Top Gun Maverick was
yeah.
by Peter Craig and Justin Marks.
Fantastic.
Screenplay by Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren Singer, and Christopher McQuarrie.
Oh, thank you so much for reading the entire crew list yet again.
And directed by Joseph Kosinski.
Directed by Joseph Kosinski. Now, Joseph, good old Joe, he's done Oblivion. He directed Oblivion, which also had Tom Cruise in it.
That's right. So there's obviously they had a connection.
Mazeballs. Hey, he also did Tron Legacy. I didn't like that film. I'll be
liked
honest.
it. It was more style over substance, but I did love it.
Yeah.
And I like the music by Daft Punk. Bit of a Daft Punk fan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. I do like Oblivion, though.
I thought Oblivion was really clever. It's
Yeah,
rare
really good.
these days you get to see a really good sci-fi film that actually
know.
is a bit more unique and interesting. I mean,
I know.
How many times can you go to space? The answer is a million times.
A billion times. Hey, look, if you've been in, if you've had your head in the ground and you don't know who's in this movie, then go and fix your face. But Tom Cruise is
It's a
in
bit
this
rude.
movie. I know I'm being rude to people.
People can fix their own faces. Jesus.
Tom
You've
Cruise.
started a
Just
trend.
Stop it, trying to get it out. Tom Cruise plays Maverick, and hey, this is wonderful. But
Yeah.
they managed to get Val Kilmer in it.
Oh, I loved this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so good to see him back.
Yeah. Now you know that he's suffering from.
Yeah.
I
Did you
believe-
watch the Netflix documentary
No, I
about his
didn't.
life? Yeah.
No.
Really interesting.
Okay, so
really, really
correct me if I'm
interesting.
wrong. He's got throat cancer.
He's got throat cancer.
Okay.
And he can't speak.
Yeah, it's amazing that they actually wrote that into the film. So his character Iceman is also suffering from the same thing, and he has trouble speaking. Well, he can't speak. He can only type through a computer.
Yeah.
But did you know, Will?
Yeah, what?
Did you know that they used artificial intelligence in the making of this movie
Wow.
to dub Val Kilmer's voice? Well, it's not his real voice. It's his artificial voice.
Because he does speak in the film.
He has a few lines, but that's actually a computer speaking.
That's incredible.
That
wow.
mimics his voice almost identically.
Technology.
Isn't
I tell
that just
ya,
amazing?
I tell you, technology. Amazing.
I tell you what, some of the things they did with this movie is just mind-blowing. Look, we've also got
You know,
Miles...
if they ever invented an AI for your voice,
He's sober. You're frothing today.
I won't go on.
Now, look, we've got Miles Teller in this. Now,
Sorry, just on the AI thing, I did want to say that
Do
I
you
watched
have
this
something else to
amazing
say?
documentary recently about Andy Warhol.
oh yeah.
And they did the same thing in that. They actually
they?
took clips of Andy Warhol's voice.
Oh, yeah.
And they enabled him to narrate the series,
Oh,
which is
oh,
it's called
I
the Warhol
heard-
Diaries.
I heard that.
And he was able to narrate his own diary entries,
Yeah.
even though he's passed away.
That's
Using AI. And they
seriously
also
incredible.
use another voice actor. So it's like a mix of AI and a voice actor.
Yeah, I tell
Very
you what,
interesting.
deep fake is just getting scary, crazy, isn't it? Like soon they won't even need actors.
And cool. Yeah, I know.
And cool, yeah.
How about those Tom Cruise like Instagram videos where there's
What?
that guy that does the deep fake Tom Cruise
I
videos?
haven't seen them.
Oh, I've been tricked by those a few times. It looks so much like Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, look. Just getting back to the move. We've got Miles Teller playing Rooster in this. Now he's
Yeah.
our polar character in this movie.
Yeah.
Miles Teller's come a long way. Now
He
we
has.
first saw him in Whiplash. Do you remember?
Yeah. Yep.
My God.
Yeah.
He is buff and I couldn't
Oh,
tear my
God.
eyes away from the screen.
Jeez, the mercury is rising
Oh,
here in the podcast.
It's getting very
booth.
hot.
Stop.
Turn the heat down. Jesus Christ.
Jesus. Okay.
Now, also another person to note is Jennifer Connelly. Now we've had a massive professional crush on Jennifer Connelly for a long time, since good old Labyrinth days. That's going back a while.
Oh, I love Labyrinth. That is like my favorite childhood movie. David Bowie, rest his soul.
I know, but can I tell you one thing that I've always even since Requiem for a Dream? If you have not seen that movie, go and see it. She is astounding in it. She is one of the best actresses or actors I've ever seen.
She should be way more famous than she
Way
is.
more.
Yeah.
Like she's Meryl Streep level.
Wow.
Like
that's a big
no,
call.
That's a big call.
But
And
I think you're right. She's incredible.
absolutely. I mean, in this movie, we're going to talk about her character. Her character's useless, but she's not. Like the way
Her character's useless.
It is. It's
More on that
totally
later.
like, just get rid of the character. But Jennifer Connelly plays it.
Yeah.
Just beautifully.
Yeah.
Hey, what was your first impression score, Will?
First impressions.
Yeah, I absolutely loved this film. I was on the edge of my seat. I think I might have cried towards the end. It was so emotional. I mean, really, this is a father-son story.
You don't usually cry in movies, so I'm.
Well, but
that's
look, let's be
impressive.
honest. Your definition of crying, I'm talking about your definition, which
Yeah.
is that if your eyes slightly well with a
Yeah.
little bit of moisture,
That's a cry.
That's called crying.
That's a cry. Yeah.
no.
Yeah. If you got,
Crying is when tears are rolling down your cheeks.
no. If you got some moisture in your eyes, that's a cry.
Well, I cried then.
Yay!
in that definition.
He
so,
did it. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. So my score is 10. What's
Yeah.
yours?
Well,
10 out of 10.
I remember, fantastic, so good. Again, this movie is just out of this world good. I'm going to say it. You heard it here first. This is the best film that I think I have personally seen in the last 2 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
in 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a long
Wow,
time.
That's incredible. It is rare. In fact, I have to say, if you've just tuned into these podcasts, we've never given a 10 first impressions.
No, actually, we have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
What is
believe.
it?
I think it was Wreck-It Ralph back in the day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to
you,
go back and-
yeah, okay. You would have given it a 10.
Yeah.
I think I was a 9 for that one.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, is this your first 10?
It's my first 10.
Oh, yay!
you
10s
always
across the
remember your
board.
first 10.
Yeah, just stop it, Will.
Okay. So
He's talking about scorecards there. 10s across the board. Yeah, I'm going to give this a 10 too. I did turn to you at one point afterwards and say, look, I was a 10 until a certain point in the movie. Then I wanted to give it 9.
Yeah.
But I realized I was overthinking it. I was going to my story score. Not doing it today. It's a 10. Cool. just to clarify. Jesus
good. I'm
Christ.
glad you're clarifying.
Do you want the next score, Will?
Let's do it.
The story score.
Okay, this is it. This is the story. We uphold story. We're going to have a look at how everything worked, the cogs of the story.
Hey, look, if this is the first time you tune into our podcast, we give 3 scores, just in case you're really
Yeah,
confused.
you're like, how many more scores are there to go?
There's like 100 of them. There's 3. We give our first impression. This is our story score, and then we're going to give a final score after that.
Yeah.
You've got something really interesting to talk about.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I want to get to that. But first, I just want to say I did think this film was really well structured.
Oh.
I mean, we watch a lot of films and a lot of them make mistakes. This one got a lot right. So I was very impressed by this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard. It's really hard when you see a film so great like this to be an audience member and a storyteller at the same time. Because I personally resonate, as a story geek, and I know you would. I resonate when I see, a point told so well. Like when the structure is just so sound,
And it's surprising and it's interesting and it's, engaging.
Yeah, you get so excited, But at the same time, I also enjoyed it. But
Yeah. Well, you have to do that. You have to be able to switch off, just watch the film and enjoy it for what it is, which I definitely did with this film.
Yeah.
But also be able to step back and what we do as part of this podcast.
Yeah.
really look at it and analyze it and say, did that work and why did it work? And that's the only way we're going to get stronger as writers and as storytellers.
Yeah. So most of the stuff in this movie is spot on, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But now you had a problem with the characteristic moment.
I didn't really understand the beginning. So in the first film, Top Gun from 1986, Tom Cruise is young. He's presented as this reckless fighter pilot who who's really only good on his own, or
You only just saw it recently, right?
I did, yeah. I only saw it a few weeks ago, or probably a month ago, in preparation for this podcast.
Fantastic. You knew we were going to do it.
I did want to see it. Well, I'd actually never seen it before.
Okay, right.
But the whole thing is that Tom Cruise, he's selfish. He prepares to do things alone by himself, and he does things at the expense of his whole team. And his journey over that story is to learn how to work in a team.
Look, we've seen that archetype so many times.
Yeah, we've seen it before. But
we just spoke about it in our Lightyear podcast. Go and see it.
Yep.
Go
being by yourself, being as a team.
Yeah.
Taking on that feminine value of connection or whatever it might be, where you're able to work together in a group as opposed to as a lone ranger.
Got it.
So that's the story of the first film, and I was confused because the characteristic moment, which is where we first get an insight into the character of the story for Top Gun Maverick, presents him kind of as reckless.
Yeah.
The whole idea is that he's completed that character arc. He doesn't need to go back to being reckless. So I started watching this film going, oh, that's interesting. Have they reverted to the formula of the first film in these opening scenes?
Yeah.
Or is there something else to this? In the first scene of Top Gun Maverick, he is in this high tech jet braking Mach 10 speed, and he just keeps going further and further, and the dials are going up, and the plane is getting hot, and it's shaking, and it's about to break.
It was a great scene.
Fantastic scene. And Ed Harris, who is his superior, arrives and is like, shut it down, but he keeps going and going, and
sticks it to the man, as we love sticking it to authority.
Exactly.
We love
and then
that
the
trope.
plane, breaks, and it's that tells me that he's a character who goes beyond what is reasonable to this point of destruction.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds a lot like recklessness to me. Look, a characteristic moment is just, we can't tell you how important it is in a movie. You'll see it in every movie that you watch. There's actually two in a film. There's one at the beginning and there's one at the end. They bookend the story. And often that characteristic moment doesn't really have much to do with the main story that you're about to hear. It's sort of like the end of a previous sequence. We just get a taste of what this character is missing. So you'll see two things tested at the characteristic moment. You'll see the psychological flaw and you'll see the moral flaw come into effect. What does that mean? Do you know what it means?
Yeah, of course I know what it means.
Well, I know you do.
Psychological.
Of course you know, right?
The psychological weakness is how the flaw of the character affects the character themselves.
Yeah.
And the moral weakness is how their flaw affects everyone else around them.
That's right.
So we got a sense of that with this scene. We got Tom Cruise, obviously he goes into this point of recklessness that it completely destroys the plane, and he's falling through the sky essentially.
Yeah, totally.
That's not good.
That's his psychological.
He's about he's about to die.
His recklessness,
to the point of death.
Want to define it like that, literally takes him to a point when he is personally going to die. Right?
Exactly.
We see how that weakness, that flaw, is destroying his life personally in some way. Then, of course, we get the effect of, the moral effect of it. Like, it's because he crashed that plane, like, all these people are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Such a vital part of the story. Now, what doesn't work
is that we learn later that the story is not about recklessness.
That's right.
That story was finished in Top Gun 1986.
Yeah.
So it's actually a story about letting go and about fatherhood, about being overprotective.
Yeah.
And that is set up in the key relationship between Tom Cruise's character and Rooster, Miles' Teller's character.
So, I mean, like, absolutely, a characteristic moment. It's like drawing back a bow. Isn't it? It's like showing the tension in what is missing in their life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And and that's when you let go of the bow, that's going to take you all the way through the story.
Yeah.
So if you're pulling a bow back in the wrong value context, and then letting it go, you're telling a completely different story.
Yeah. This isn't a story about being a lone ranger and finding a connection.
Yeah.
That was the first film. This is a story about being overprotective and learning how to let go.
Yeah.
So did we get this right or wrong?
Well, I don't know. I mean, let's look at it. And when you look at it like that, I think I agree with you. I think it is a carry on from the previous movie. But let's just try and see it through the storyteller's eyes for a second. Do you think that maybe they were showing overprotection because that's what's missing? That's his flaw with the Miles Teller character later. Do you think that he was showing overprotection with his crew by going above and beyond, like breaking that Mach 10 barrier,
and also risking his own life,
risking the life, the careers of his crew? Because he's overprotecting them. It sounds a bit like a stretch, even me saying it.
Yeah, it could do. And I think you might be right here because the theme and the value of, or the perverted value of overprotection, I imagine would be quite hard to show in an action sequence. And let's be honest, this is an action film. This one bums on seats for big, involving grossing set pieces, overprotectiveness. I think it would be quite challenging to show that in an action sequence. I think they might have fobbed this a little bit. There might have been a little bit of a stretch.
I think they had a bit of a tweak.
How we can show overprotectiveness.
Either that or they were carrying on from the previous movie and it just didn't have anything to do with the rest of the value context.
There is the idea through the whole film, Top Gun Maverick, that he hasn't progressed past captain. So he's been stalled. So maybe they were just trying to show that he was held back, that he was still...
that's a really good point, but I'm going to disagree with you slightly. I kind of feel like the reason why he had, you could see Captain as the archetype of father. So if he hasn't achieved captain yet, he hasn't achieved what true fatherhood is.
No, he is a captain. He hasn't achieved general.
That's
what you mean.
I mean general. Sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Or lieutenant or whatever it might be.
I misspoke. Yeah. So
I don't know military ranks, by the way. Whatever is after captain.
Whatever the next rank is. Jesus Christ, get the corner. Whatever the next rank is, I think may have symbolized he hasn't been able to step into, the role of a real father, the role of a real parent, because we see, we learn about his backstory, how he's held Miles Teller's character back. He's gone in and he's, he removed him from flight school.
That's right. Remember? Yeah, he didn't feel he was ready. Well, that's what it sounds like. But it was actually that he didn't want him to put him in the face of danger. He wanted to hold him back for another 4 years.
Oh, let's just mention in the first movie. Sorry, what's his name? What's the Maverick's name?
Maverick.
Bloody name.
Yeah.
Maverick feels responsible for the death of Rooster's dad, Miles Teller's father, Goose. Right, so Goose dies in the first movie.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise kind of feels a little responsible for it.
Yeah.
So
that is a sticking point. But can I just say on that note, that actually isn't the ghost of the film. The ghost is actually that he held him back for 4 years.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. That's what it is, because Miles Teller knows that he did that. And so Miles Teller, does not like Tom Cruise at all.
Yeah. But also, cool. I think I think it might, I can't remember. We've only seen the film once, so I might have to watch it again. But I don't think that's really much of a sticking point that he did kill his dad. I think that's kind of been resolved now, and that was kind of resolved in the first film, especially on a thematic level. Tom Cruise has learnt from that. And,
he
had his apotheosis. He had his change. In that value context. And for this one, it's more about the holding back.
Yeah, but he's holding him back because he feels responsible, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. He feels that
he doesn't. I would argue he doesn't want it to happen again.
Yeah. So can I agree and disagree with you, Will?
Yeah.
I would argue that there is two ghosts in this. There's one for Miles Teller and there's one for Tom Cruise. Right. And I would say that the removing him from flight school, the manipulating of the files, whatever he did, was Miles Teller's ghost.
Yeah.
And the death of Goose in the first movie was Tom Cruise's ghost, because they're the two events that are informing the missing value for each of them. Right.
Yep.
And what's so amazing about having those two ghosts is that it sets them both up as no's. When you have polar characters that are two no's, right? As we're discovering, go and see The Heat. We reviewed one recently that was two no's. Can't remember actually.
Do you mean Chip and Dale?
It was Chip and Dale. Sorry,
Chip and Dale were a yes.
Sorry.
Yes, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chip and Dale are a yes/no. So if you go and see one, I think it was Chip, isn't it? Chip definitely wants to
Honestly, I really get those two confused. Yeah. They're both Chip.
I know the one with the red nose. The one with the red nose wants them to be a duo, and the one with the black nose doesn't want them to be a duo. So one's a yes, one's a no. But what's really cool with this movie is that they're both no's. So when Tom Cruise sees that Miles Teller is going to be part of the crew, he's that informs his refusal of the call.
That's right. Yeah. He sees his photo on the screen there. He's like, nope, I'm not training them.
No way. I'm I feel responsible for the death of his father. I'm not going to do it. And the same is when Miles Teller finds out that he's going to be the tutor, the guide, the mentor.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm just going to today.
Miles Teller's character just wants to pretty much phone it in. He doesn't want to really engage, especially with Tom Cruise's character.
Absolutely. So that's my take on that. So characteristic moment we're a bit unsure of.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Do you have anything else to say about story? We think we've got lots to say about story, actually.
We do. Well, we wanted to talk about the acclimation sequence for this film because I think it's literally a story about trainees, about trainee fighter pilots. I mean, we should talk about the first sequence of Act 2, which is often a training sequence where the hero is now in a new world and they need to be trained into how to survive in that world.
Look, we often see it as training, but the reason, we call it acclimation. The reason why we call it acclimation is because it's not just about being trained by somebody, although most of the time it is, but it's also about acclimatizing to that environment. So finding the rules of the universe, what's allowed, what's not allowed, who's an enemy, who's an ally. They're tested in certain ways to see if they're even worthy or capable of going on a journey of change.
And so just going on from what you said, there actually can be no actual training. You might not even see any actual physical training in any way, but it's just the hero becoming acclimatized, acclimation, to the new world. So in this case, the new world is simply just the relationship between Tom Cruise, Maverick, and Rooster. So they have to become acclimatized to each other and to being stuck in the same environment as each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even though the whole thing is about being trained as a fighter pilot, that's actually irrelevant to the value context of the story.
Absolutely, it's a really good point. Also, saying that this is it's kind of a genre. It's thing to have the training sequence. The mentor. You see it in Star Wars. You see it all over the place. So yeah, absolutely, there is an element of actual training in this. But when you break it down, what is he actually? How is Tom Cruise being trained?
Well, he should be learning how to be a father.
How to be a father.
Or how to let go.
Exactly.
How to let go.
So it's really easy to see how Miles Teller is being trained, in the physical environment. But how is Tom Cruise being trained? By Miles Teller.
And it doesn't go that well, does it? Things blow up eventually.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is left to... I keep saying Tom Cruise. I should say Maverick. Maverick is left to go and seek help from someone. And that's the Val Kilmer character.
Yeah.
Who is a fantastic Oracle.
Classic Oracle. Fantastic.
And around about the middle of the story, around about where you'd expect to find your midpoint, here is this character who is about a fountain of knowledge, or he is presented as someone that is... of high esteem and is very well regarded. And he is he's presented mysteriously, which is very mythic.
Yeah, it's awesome. But obviously, I mean, we've just spoken about the Oracle a lot in our podcast just gone. But the main job of an Oracle is to give a new path, and that's exactly what Val Kilmer does. Yeah. So Maverick has been on this acclimation, this training sort of act 2 of just complete unworthy and and suddenly Val Kilmer steps in and says, you got to learn to let go. Yeah. You got to let that child character, Miles Teller, you got to learn to let them go. Let them go out into the world and live by themselves.
In other words, Maverick's his perversion of this overprotectiveness have led him into this point where he's even more disconnected from Rooster. Yeah. And he has to find a new solution. He has to find a new way out. Yeah. So he goes to this Oracle character in Val Kilmer's character, Iceman. And he's told, like you said, to let go, to find a new path, a new direction out, which is great.
Yeah. Awesome
really good
stuff.
Storytelling.
Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the ultimate sacrifice in this story.
Yes. Okay.
So our ultimate sacrifice, everyone knows what that is. It's
Do they?
If you've watched a movie before, you know what it is.
You know what the point. You might know the name. That's our name.
It's in Act 4. We have 4 acts, by the way, not 3. It's right at the end, in the absolute ultimate moment, not the penultimate, the ultimate moment, where they're just about to be defeated by the neuroses, the villain, in some way.
Whoever the villainous opposing force is, that's usually how it's presented.
Whatever the manifestation of the neuroses.
Oh, you know what I really liked in this story is how they didn't give a country to the antagonists. You weren't sure if they were like Russian or like Ukrainian or something.
I thought I'd missed something, actually.
Yeah, no. They kept it anonymous, which is...
That's awesome.
I think they probably might have done that in post-production.
I don't know.
What if they were Russians and they realized there was a war with Russia?
I don't know.
And they took it out.
Who knows?
Anyway.
It was really effective. They did
Yeah.
that in Tomorrow When the War Began too. It's really
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
It kind of makes them more mysterious in a way. It adds to the tension. But anyway, getting back. So ultimate sacrifice, they have to, the protagonist has to sacrifice their old way of life for the final time. Often they have to sacrifice their own life.
Yeah.
To save the world, whatever the world might be.
To show that they have fully changed, they've fully transitioned into this new way of being, embracing and acquiring the value they didn't have and finding this balance that they previously did not have.
Yeah. And when you look at it, I mean, they have to step in and they have to save the world. We have to define what the world is. In the context of this story, it wasn't the non-country people that
the villains.
The villains. The world was the relationship between Maverick and Rooster. It was that father-son relationship.
Yeah.
So what did they have to do? Both of them had to sacrifice themselves for the other person. That needed to be their ultimate sacrifice, which they did brilliantly in this movie.
Yeah. So the way they did it was, with Tom Cruise's character, with Maverick, he actually had to literally put his plane in the line of fire in order to save Rooster.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So when a fighter plane is being pursued by an enemy plane and a missile gets shot at them, well, they have a couple of things they can resort to. They can put up smoke bombs and various things to sort of distract the missile.
Well, the missile can hit the little flares instead.
Flares,
yeah.
We clearly know all of our stuff about aircraft.
What are you talking about? I have trained as a Top Gun.
I thought you look like it, Will. When you walk in the morning, I'm like, you're a pilot. Jesus.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know, but I'm not well today.
You're not
I'm
well.
coughing. Yeah. So anyway, but Miles Teller gets to a point where he's run out of those things, right?
Yeah.
And a missile's coming at him.
Yeah. And Tom Cruise takes the missile for him, which is the most ultimate sacrifice you can get.
He takes the bullet.
He takes the bullet. Yep.
Missile hits Tom Cruise's plane.
Yeah. He
crashes to the floor.
That's right.
Yeah.
The floor, the ground.
The ground.
Into the snow.
The snow, the mountain.
Anyway, that's his ultimate sacrifice. And because they're building this really nice...
I'm just going to cough. You keep...
Okay. Because they
Sorry about that.
Because they create this really nice relationship between Rooster and Maverick as opposite sides of this binary. Rooster also needs to have his ultimate sacrifice. So there's this dual journey going on.
Yeah.
And tell us about what that is for what happens next.
So Tom Cruise has just taken the bullet, fallen down, crashed. Miles Teller's obviously really upset. But they've just succeeded. They've won the day.
They won the day.
They achieved the impossible mission, which happened just before.
Blowing up the nuclear factory before it opened.
So freaking awesome,
it's
by the way.
So awesome, so cool.
Oh,
so
amazing.
inventive. What a great sequence.
You've got to see it just for that. So all the fighter pilots, all the students are on their way back to main headquarters, which is on this boat out in the ocean.
Except for Tom Cruise, who's crashed.
Who's we think is dead. We don't even know he's alive yet. Miles Teller is obviously really torn and upset. And decides he's going to fly back into enemy territory, which has been set up as you're not going to survive.
Yeah.
These guys are so good, you're going to be shot down.
That's right.
Now, Miles Teller knows he's got no, missiles or flare bombs, whatever you call them.
Crazy.
So he knows, he absolutely knows in that moment, when he turns back, he's going to die. So he makes a conscious decision to go back to save his father figure, Maverick, who took a bullet for him.
Yep.
Right? Goes back in, flies down, sees that Tom Cruise is about to be shot by this helicopter. Awesome sequence. At the last minute, as you know the trope, Miles Teller flies in and blows the helicopter up. Okay?
Yeah.
Fantastic. End of the story. But no. No, it's not.
I know you've got a gripe with this one.
I've got a bit of a gripey poos.
It's an action film. Throw in another sequence.
I know, Will. I know. But we know as writers, and those who listen to us know, you can't write like that. As we've spoke about the characteristic moment, it's our job as storytellers to illustrate values, to illustrate, to paint with meaning, to paint with values. You can't superfluously have a scene that doesn't mean anything, right? So where are we going with this? So basically, after they've saved the day, you go. You describe it.
Well, I want to disagree with you. I actually think that sequence was necessary. I think that you've got these characters. Sure, we need to find out how they get back home. I mean, I'm sure you could do that in just a cutscene where they are suddenly back, or someone comes and rescues them. I don't know, whatever. But they are stuck without a plane, on foot, in the snow. That's an amazing opportunity to have another sequence there.
Absolutely. I'm not saying don't have another sequence.
And may I suggest, have we actually explored this as being phase B of Act 4
No.
unfinished business.
No, I don't think it is. I think that this is, if anything, they could have done it two ways. They could have repeated, absolutely, as an action film, they need to have another sequence, right? But it needs to illustrate something. It needs to show something new, right? Otherwise, there's no point having it. So if you're going to have it, then do a bit of writing. You know, like what would have been awesome is to see how they work together, right? In this final scene, how did they come together as opposite sides of the binary and work as a team? How did their newfound strengths work together to defeat the new problem, to defeat the new conflict? You know, they end up stealing a plane, they fly off, and then they get pursued by other planes, and it's basically the same scene as what we've just seen.
Yeah, but the story's finished, so what would the new thing be?
I don't know. Well, I'm not the writer; it's not my job. But all I'm saying is that it was devoid of anything new, and instead, they basically have another ultimate sacrifice moment where it's a do or die. They're about to be killed. And what happens? Well, a B-plot character who's his name's Hangman, played by Glenn Powell, who's very attractive, by the way.
Almost too attractive.
I know. Did you know he actually he auditioned for Miles Teller's character?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
he almost got it. He was in the top 3, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. And him, Miles Teller, and someone else got invited to Tom Cruise's house to do some workshopping to see the chemistry, who would work best with Tom Cruise. And it turns out it was obviously Miles Teller. But Tom Cruise was so impressed with Glenn Powell that he gave him another role in the film.
Can I say, the name Glenn, it's not a name you hear very often these days.
Yeah.
It's an old man's name. Anyway.
Well, that's all right.
Just want to say.
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's good. Thanks for that.
Yeah,
Great.
just saying that. Also, can I also just say, I believe that
I think Will's an old man's name. Oh, no, sorry. That's just,
I know you're trying to get to a point about you know this Act 4, but can I also say, I think that that Glenn Powell character was supposed to be the version of Maverick from the first film in this new story. He was the reckless one. He was the one that didn't care about his team, that always did things by himself.
Yeah.
He left his team hanging. That's why it was called Hangman.
Hangman. There you go.
That's why it was,
that's good. I mean, it's really great that they, they rounded up his character journey, his emotional journey for Hangman. I'm talking about, but perhaps don't do it at the ultimate moment, which is meant to be. You
would usually call it the equilibrium, where they actually come. Celebration.
Well, I'm saying that this is a repeat of the ultimate sacrifice. I think that they repeated it again.
Yeah.
So what we needed to see is in that final do or die moment where they're about to be killed or they're about to die or whatever. Miles Teller and Tom Cruise needed to work together to save the day. They cannot have the Glenn Powell character come and save the day. It's like they almost didn't go on a journey together. They needed to show their strengths to come together. They need to overcome whatever it is together, But it was robbed from them. It was absolutely ripped from them because they just decided to round off the B character's journey.
You mean when Glenn Powell comes in and saves them?
Yeah.
See, I don't think that's the case. I think that's the case. I think
That's exactly what happened.
Tom Cruise and Miles Teller's characters were completed. They were finished, and now some character can come in and save the day. That's completely fine.
They were about to die.
Well, I know, but
no, they weren't completed. They weren't. They were about to die. So they needed to work together to sort it out.
I see what you're saying,
Right?
that it's a repeat, but they had already reached that place. So on a value level, they already were together. If they died now, well, obviously it's not the genre where they would die, but the story was complete.
It's just not how symbols work. It's just not. Like if you have them, the whole point is that when they come together, they're stronger as one. They come together, they've won. They've saved the day. If you then go and kill them you can kill them off in an act of ultimate sacrifice. They can sacrifice themselves, for the good of something else. So they can die in a moment like that because that elevates them. But if you have them die in a moment of weakness where they literally just get shot out the sky and they drown, no, that's a symbol that says no, the relationship crashed and burned.
Of course, yes,
okay?
Of course, that wouldn't happen,
right? So they really needed to either we're in this together, pal. Yeah, we're in this together, and then they fly into the other plane. And then
miraculously survive.
Sorry, that's a really stupid idea, but that's better than what happened in this movie.
Okay.
I don't think anyone should have come and saved the day. Yeah, I think
we do
it
see
was
this
weak
almost
writing.
as a trope in a lot of stories, though. When the value binary has come together, and then another force comes in and is able to save them because they've changed.
I think it's weak when they do it like they did in this movie. I think if you had the polar character come and do that, You know, like we saw, with exactly that trope happened when Miles Teller came to shoot the helicopter out the sky. You know, just at the last moment, the character comes in and saves the day. Well, that worked because it was the polar character who did it. That was his sacrifice for his father figure. Makes sense. Does not make sense for a B-plot character. Has nothing to do with a relationship. Come and save the day. It's weak.
Yeah, interesting.
Sweet.
All right, so that's amazing. We talked a lot about story in that for Top Gun.
Do you have anything else to say?
I don't.
Yes.
Well,
I was waiting for you to speak then.
well, this is our final score.
The
Number 3 out of
NMG.
3.
The not my genre score.
What are you giving this as your final score for the film? Now that you've talked about story, has it gone up? Has it gone down? Has it gone to 11?
We both started on a 10. We've chatted
Which is
about
the highest score.
I'm going to go down to a 9 because I still love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Still love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking this down to. I want to go 8.5. I'm going down to an 8.
Okay.
I think I was a bit hyped up, to be honest.
Yeah.
Really loved it.
Well, yeah, we both were.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But this is a really great, solid film.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rush to go see it again.
Yeah.
But I really loved it, and I will watch it again at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to watch it a couple of times. I'm going to use it as one of our study
Fall
points.
asleep in the middle of it.
I did not do that. I
You
did
do that
not.
in every film.
No, I do not. Just as a side, really quick note, I did think that they, just as a craft point, that they weren't very strong with the music. Like,
Oh, yes. This is a big problem.
Yeah.
There were some sequences that needed music and sequences that had too much music.
Well, yeah, well, too. I mean, the moment where they actually achieve the mission is exactly a repeat of Luke Skywalker in the first Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, R2D2 isn't working.
The laser.
Laser's not working. They have to use, intuition to shoot down. It's exactly, you've seen it 1,000 times. No music.
Did they have
nothing.
music during the trial of that sequence? I think they did, didn't
absolutely.
they? Which is
Tom
strange.
Cruise, yeah.
So, like, not even the real thing when
It
they
was-
were just practicing
Yeah, it
out
was
in
a
the middle of Utah or wherever the hell it was.
Massive fuck yeah moment.
Yeah.
But not in the moment. What's going on?
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. And then there was too much music at the end when they were hugging. It was a bit of a cheese ball, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Bit of a cheesy.
I like that though. I went for that.
Yeah.
I was just ready.
You are a bit of a cheese
I
ball.
was not a cheese ball. I was ready. I was ready to cry with the characters.
Oh.
I love you, Dad. I love you, son.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the podcast. Jesus Christ.
Great.
Hey, Will, it's been lovely.
It's been great. What are we
Yeah.
doing next week?
I don't know. What do you feel like doing?
Well,
What do we do?
this is
We know exactly what we're doing.
we're doing the black phone.
We're doing the black phone. Hey, we'll see you all next time I Can Hear the Music for episode 48. Do you have anything constructive to say to me, Will?
Only bye.
Is that it?
See ya.
Oh.
Not for you.
Okay, we'll
You're
count down.
perfect.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Hola.